You've had Abdul all year.
Yeah.
Do you think the message is getting through? Obviously, we haven't talked to you since you got benched for the first quarter. Do you think the message is getting through on being where you need to be for team responsibilities?
I think it's getting there for sure. I mean, obviously, Abdul, I think, would like to have those moments back, and wish they didn't happen. But, the thing I'll say is he's a young player learning the process of the NFL, and I think that's important for any player. And he's in the middle, back half of his rookie season. So he is still learning, but the one thing, that I would say is moments like that you wish didn't happen, personally. And, I'm sure Abdul wishes they didn't happen, but to me, they did happen. They're in the past. And I look at it like, how is he going to respond moving forward, and how has he responded? And his response, quite honestly, has been incredible after both of those moments. I mean, he's taken ownership publicly in the building with his teammates and coaches. And then honestly, just in terms of like pattern behavior, he's doing more. He's watching more film. He's coming in earlier and staying later. So the response is what I focus on. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody needs to learn the NFL process, which he's learning right now. But his response to those moments has been awesome. It's been pro-like, and that's all you're asking a young player to do, is just become a pro as they grow in their game, and he has.
You mentioned watching more film, being here earlier and later. Anything else stand out? Like you said, it's been incredible. Like anything else stand out? A specific example-wise, I'm saying.
Yeah, and then taking that extra time in the classroom and extra time to prepare, and then applying it on the field in drill work and in team settings. He's done all of that, I think it was ironic that his first sack came on short yardage from a 6 technique, but look, all those productive moments will come, but to me, for really any player, but especially a young one, I focus on the process, and again, just looking at players in all stages of the career, I've said it before, Burns is entering a level of his career he's never hit before, and he's in year 7, and Kayvon has become a more complete player in years 3 and 4. So there's always stuff to learn, there's always stuff to add, and you really can't take it all in one moment, especially early on, And so, again, I look at how he's moved forward after each of those examples, and it's been really impressive to me. That's what I focus on.
You've probably been around him more than anybody that's been in your position remote. You're like, what steps have you taken to kind of get through to him to understand, like you said, be a pro? Like, how do you get through to a young kid to understand that?
I think just showing the biggest example, or the biggest teacher a lot of times is the film, is showing examples. So showing what the technique looks like in games, and or showing how, if a player has success based on a piece of preparation they picked up during the week, if Burns picks up a nugget based on his film study of a tackle and it pays off in a game, illustrating, hey, this didn't happen on a prescribed meeting time or during a prescribed meeting. This happened on his own study at home, and he applied it to the game. So whatever it is, I think just using examples to show him as opposed to tell him. I mean, of course, as coaches, we think we have all the answers and we're telling him stuff all the time, right? But experience is the greatest teacher. He's 22. He just turned 22. He was 21 when he got in the league, and he's been playing the position for a year and a half. So the learning curve is going to be what it is, and so that's, in that regard, it's understandable. It's no excuse for, showing up late or anything like that. But in terms of understanding the timeline of developing a pro process, it will take time.
What are you looking with that process? What do you want to see from him these last 4 weeks, and how can he build on that?
I would say just, committing to the process off the field, film study, practice, in meetings, and then just applying what he's learning in those moments on the field with urgency. Like that's part of execution is how you do it and how urgently you can execute, and just understanding how it all ties together. But each step of the process has its own importance, and it's just sequencing it all together. And then this is the next part of it, over and over and over and over again. I mean, that's what execution at a high level is in this league. The consistency is part of it. So it's taking all those pieces and putting them together, and then just replicating it time and time again.
Bring up the urgency, more like urgency of the process, or like what he's doing and And is that something he's lacked?
Yeah, no, I just think for all these guys, it's just the urgency. Like you pick something up in a meeting, then you go out to a walkthrough, being urgent with the detail that was, discussed or learned or observed in the meeting, applying it in a walkthrough, and then taking it to the practice field, and coming back the next day or on a Friday if we don't hit an early down part of the game plan specifically. Typically that part of the game plan happens on a Wednesday. So using that as an example, hey, something that we put in on Wednesday, now we had to move away from it to focus on other areas on Thursday. Now we show up on a Friday. Can you apply that detail with the same amount of urgency on the day that we installed it for the first time?
Charlie, for you, what was it like for you when you look back at your first game calling plays? Like, what did you gain from that? What was that like? And just how do you learn from that now going forward these next 4 games?
Yeah, I would say probably the coolest thing for me, or biggest not unforeseen thing about it, is there's a rhythm and a flow that I felt myself get into in the game that felt pretty comfortable, and you can't replicate that until you go through it. Not knowing what that would feel like or what that actually becomes in game. I just didn't have that feel last week. So in the preparation 2 weeks ago, leading into the New England week, I was chasing everything, looking at everything, the volume, scripting everything, and it was a lot. Now, having been through that and knowing how the game goes and how the flow goes and getting a feel for the opposing play caller, that's actually shaped how I've approached this game week process. So that was the biggest unforeseen part of it, but it was actually pretty cool, and I'm glad that I now have that experience.
Tim was just out here talking about how all the other position coaches have kind of had to pick up slack and maybe do more presenting and whatnot on the offensive side of the ball with him as an interim. I'm wondering how it's been with you and your position coaches.
Yeah, no doubt. Everybody's had to pick up slack. It's been all hands on deck, which it has been all year. I think mainly for the young guys, Steve Ferentz and Grant Morgan, they've had to pick up the most. But they've done a great job with it. And then just the other coaches as well, just even helping me more big picture, just tying it all together, especially some of the front stuff with the back end coverages. I've really leaned on Marquand a lot, and he's been great and obviously has experience. So I'm really appreciative of him and how he's approached it and just his expertise.
What did you see from the self-scout this week when you went back in? What did you see from your unit?
Really, it was nice to have a chance to go back and look at all that. And I think just where we're at, we've fallen short of the mark in too many areas. So it's been a lot. There's been it's been a little bit of everything. I think execution is part of it. Tackling is part of it. And just getting swarmed to the ball. Speaking of the tackles, getting more guys to the ball, something like that is part of an area we can improve in the run game, But again, anytime you're where we're at, it's a little bit of everything. So as we had time to take a step back and look at it all, that's been our focus this week: is where are those areas and what can we do to improve them?
And obviously, Brian was fired, I guess, last week, almost a week ago
Yeah.
today at this point. What was your role in that? I know it was Mike's decision, obviously, but where do you, it was one of your assistants, the guy that was working under you at that point. So how do you factor into that?
Yeah, look, that was an organizational decision. I have love and respect for Brian as a man and a coach. So, I'll miss him. He's got great energy, but no, my role in that was that was an organizational and Coach Kafka decision. So, I found out when everyone else did, and my approach. Again, I had a moment with Brian. We shared a conversation, as men about that after the fact. And my approach has just been focusing on moving forward. Nothing in terms of what we're tasked to do has changed. So obviously Brian's not here, and I miss him and we'll miss him, but we got a job to do, and we just got to keep pushing. So that's been my approach.
Address that with that room? Is that something that you felt the need to do?
It was addressed as a team, So, I just kind of let it be handled there, and then individually have had some conversations about it.
What do you mean? You said you and Brian had a conversation. You're talking about before he got let go, after he got let go?
After. He got let go, so I just called him as a man and just shared my thoughts with him, So, yeah.
How has this been? Dable gets fired mid-November, Owen gets fired to take over, this happens. How are you just handling that as a coach and a person this year?
I'd say, change is always tough. It's never easy, but, like in moments like this, the people that you're in the battle with and in the grind with, that's where I draw, my motivation and resolve and grit from, is just focusing on the people that are here. I have love and respect for all three of those people. Dave's and Shane gave me opportunities, which I'm forever grateful for. And I have a friendship with Brian. So again, on a personal level, even on a coaching level, I miss all three of them and will. But again, our job moving forward hasn't changed, so we can't dwell on that and or dwell on who isn't here. We got to focus on the job we have to do. And the people that are here, I have great relationships with, obviously, as well, the players and coaches. So that's what I lean into. I just lean into my love for the players, the coaches, and what our job is, and just try to give it everything we can every day to make it better.
Take a couple more.
How will it be defending for Mariota, obviously, because Jalen obviously has a lot of tape on him, but so does Mariota. How do you plan for defending him this week?
Yeah, it's a tough task. He's playing good ball. I think the turnovers are something that he'd probably that they'd probably like to clean up. But he's playing good ball. He's an experienced player, and Cliff's offense doesn't change based on the quarterback. They still run it with him. He can still scramble. He can make all the throws. He has experience. He can read it quickly. So there's really minimal game plan change because the offense doesn't change. There's some nuance with how they scramble and how they avoid sacks and that type of thing. But for the most part, game planning against this offense doesn't change based on the quarterback.